A look at Minneapolis-St. Paul raises issues of planning and cooperation in a politically and geographically fragmented region. In the Twin Cities, a regionalist outlook has slowly developed over the years and is proving to be an effective approach to solving urban and suburban problems.
When you think about the Twin Cities and the idea of community, it's a very fractured idea.
There are incentives for competition among places, for tax base and for economic activity, and whenever you have that, you create the potential for downward spirals in some parts of the region and upward spirals in other parts of the region.
Regionalism is really the process by which people in a spread out metropolitan area begin to think of themselves as something more than just their local place and what's going on in their local place, and begin to see broader connections between their local place and the rest of the area in which they live.
Through our policies, we have certainly encouraged suburban development, and the flip side of that is, unfortunately, we don't have the natural geographic barriers to hem in our growth and force us to build back within our current developed area.
I don't know the statistics off the top of my head, but I think of the 25 largest metropolitan area, we're probably the third most sprawling, or the third least dense, something like that.
I think a lot of the pattern was put into place in large part because of the ring road, the 494, 694 highway access just makes it all too great an opportunity. If it's easy to drive to, it's seen as a good place to locate, even if it's in a green field.
Most of the growth that's gone on here has really gone on in the first, second, and now third ring suburbs since the 1960s. So when you talked about the metropolitan region in the 1950s, you were really talking about the two cities and a few close-in suburbs. Now it's a 22-county game, so it's the scale has really changed very dramatically.
It's a very fragmented system with a lot of local governments doing a lot of different things. On the other side of it, though, the Twin Cities also has the most powerful regional government in the United States.
The creation of the Metropolitan Council, which is our region's primary planning agency, happened in the late 60s, and it really came into its own in the early 70s.
We're required under state law to develop a regional development framework. So after the census, we start that process. In 2004, we adopted our latest regional development framework. And then we're required to adopt systems plans for 4 regional systems: transportation, which includes transit and highways, aviation, wastewater collection and treatment, and regional parks and open space.
Among regular residents in the Twin Cities, most people are clueless that there is a Metropolitan Council, what they do. To the extent that they're aware of it, they may be aware of it if they ride buses, because the buses say Metro Transit on it, and then there's something about Metropolitan Council, but most people are just completely unaware.
We also passed something known as the Fiscal Disparities Act in the early 70s. That is a basic policy that pools commercial industrial tax revenue into a common regional pool. So 40% of the excess, 40% of the increase from any given year goes into a regional pool to be redistributed to communities that are tax poor for commercial industrial.
Fiscal disparities, goes to evening out the geographical imbalance in this area between places that are well located with respect to the transportation network, basically freeways, and places that are not.
Which is in itself recognizing that there's an inherent unfairness, that some communities are going to have more money to spend on their schools and their services than other communities.
It also reduces the incentive for local areas that compete with each other for tax base. So that makes it easier for regional cooperation to occur, because individual places don't have quite the incentive they might have in other places to compete with their neighbor for a particular project.
Minneapolis often, over the last 30 plus years that it's been going on, Minneapolis has often paid in, sometimes gotten some back, but usually paid in. St. Paul has been more mixed. They've been sort of in and out and in and out. But, and there's some communities like Edina that, just pay, Okay, well, Edina, you could hardly be better located with respect to the freeway network than Edina is.
The thing is, there are a minority of communities, Bloomington being one of them, Edina, Eden Prairie, Minnetonka, Plymouth, Eagan, Burnsville, and a few scattered around that are the net losers as a result of that. And the thing is, in a metropolitan area where you have 146 municipalities and 20 or 30 are losing, there's not a lot of political heat to do, or there's not a lot of political energy to put away with it. We sit there and complain about it, and it's really not fair.